Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, everybody. Advisory Board. So this is a great day for all of you. It's a great day for John Jay. It's a great day for our many friends who have come here to celebrate Law Day at John Jay College. But look at this. I mean, you guys look really good, I got to tell you. I mean, it's really wonderful to look out and see all of you. And to know that you come here with very high ambition, very high expectations of us, which makes us want to raise our game every year at Law Day to make it a little bit better. And we know that you have a great future. That's why we're here. We're here for your future. So this is how many Law Days have we had? This is the 9th? Okay, this is the 9th Law Day. So welcome to the 9th Law Day. So I was just saying to our speaker, Judge Robinson, who I'll introduce in a second, that there are many wonderful things happening at John Jay, but this is one of the very best. The pre-law program, the success that we're able to celebrate each year with our students who come back, who've gone off to law school, to see them out actually practicing law and doing the thing that we like John Jay students to do as fierce advocates for justice, going out to change the world. That's why you're here, and that's why we're here to support you. So before introducing some of our guests and asking some of you to stand and be recognized, I have a news flash. This is as of yesterday. So if you follow these things like folks in my line of work do, you know that there are different rankings for colleges and universities around the country. The one that's the most sort of traditional, best known, is U.S. News World Report. So they rank colleges and universities on things like, how much money do they have, what's their endowment, number of professors, things like that. There's now a movement in our world, in the public education, in the higher education world, to rank universities and colleges in a different way, to look at the value added of the college experience. What difference does college make to the students who come here in terms of their success when they leave? That's a very different way of thinking about the college experience. People who go to the high prestige colleges, actually they would probably do fine, even if they didn't go to that particular college, because they come in with, they've got a stronger educational background. Our goal is different. Our goal is to take students who come here as just diamonds in the rough, as the raw material, and help you make it, right? So what they call the delta, the difference between coming in and leaving, that is the value of a college. The other thing that's underway in the higher education sector these days is to look at the cost of getting that value. So if you were going to Harvard, somebody would be paying $50,000 a year for an education. When you come to CUNY, you come to John Jay, the tuition is $6,000 plus. You get books. So it's not inexpensive for students whose families are in a certain economic circumstance. It can actually be for free, but it's not $50,000. So those of you who are economics majors here or really love math, you'll know that what we're talking about is some form of cost benefit. What do you get, the delta, for what you pay? Okay, so you with me so far? This is like, you didn't know you were going to class today, right? I'm Professor Travis at the moment. So we're talking now about cost benefit. So there's a number of institutions in the country, including our president, President Obama, that has now challenged the education sector to measure value for dollar in a very different way. To say, what is the delta? How much can we help our students after they get the degree here, as opposed to what it costs? You with me still? So there's a ranking system run by, I believe it's Washington Monthly. I don't know who's tracking this. Maybe Catherine. We're about to put it on the website because it's really good news. That says that in the Northeast, the states of the Northeast, of all of the colleges and universities that have ranked this way, the value for dollar, John Jay is number 4. Isn't that amazing? 4th best in the Northeast. So that says a lot about our faculty, it says a lot about our curriculum, about the redesign of our general education program, about the new majors, about the ways that we've invested in your education. but it sure is nice to have it recognized by people outside of us, because we know it's great, but now we're going to shout this one from the rooftop, right? This is big news. Baruch is number 1, so we got a ways to go. But to be number 4 in the Northeast, so if you've got high school siblings who are thinking about what to do about college, where to go, bring them here. Tell your parents, we're number 4 and we're on our way up. So this is a good way for me to start the day with you and to really celebrate what we're doing together, because you do the work, we provide the opportunity, we provide the faculty, we provide the educational program, but you're doing the work, and here you are on a Saturday taking time out. You wore suits today. I mean, I'm so impressed, right? To help you think about law school. So second thing I want to say is, this is not to make sure you go to law school. Some of you will, many of you won't, and that's okay. The genius of the Pre-Law Institute, as is run by Vielka Holness, is that we want to capture your ambition and your raw talent and help you understand that to get to law school, if that's what you want to do, you need to have a very strong academic record, right? So the pre-law, the boot camp 1, boot camp 2, boot camp 3 that you've all been part of, on your own time, not for credit, taught by our faculty, our philosophy faculty, our English faculty, and others, is intended to help you become very good students, to learn how to write, read, work with text, engage in critical thinking, and be good at whatever you do here in college so that you can be good at whatever you do after college. And we know that that may or may not include law school, and that's okay. But you're here today to actually start to explore in your own mind, in your own imagination, what it might mean to go to law school, what it might mean to apply, what it might mean to be a 1L somewhere. And we do that, we've done it now, this is the 9th year. We do that in ways that make that a very real vision for you, because we bring back John Jay students who are alumni, who are in law school. We bring in lawyers who help you understand legal practice. We bring in people who are on missions committees at the major law schools of the country to help you understand what it means to apply. We, in particular, bring people here to help you understand financial aid, because law school is expensive, but we can find a way for you to get to law school if you're really good and minimize that debt. So there's a way for us to help you do that if that's what you want to do and you're willing to put in the effort. So Law Day is all about visualizing that future for you, if that's what you want to do. So that's why we bring you together on a Sunday. It's not a Sunday, it's on a Saturday. So I want to recognize some people who are in the room and ask them to stand as I call out the categories. First of all, I said there are John Jay alumni in the room, so who are the alumni? Stand up to be recognized and acknowledged. Thank you for coming back. Great, good to see you all. And it's our 50th anniversary. We have a big alumni weekend coming up. I always forget the dates. It's April 24th and 5th, right? It's going to be 2 days of the weekend, right? April 24th. So if you haven't signed up yet, please sign up to come back. It's going to be a big bash, the biggest we've ever done. Even without sending out the invitations, we have close to 300 people registered. It'll be the biggest ever. We have to take over the gym. Can't do it here. So please come back, mingle with your classmates and others, and be part of that very exciting celebration. I want to ask our other guests who are here, who are not alumni, who are here on panels, just to be with us. This is not the advisory board. We'll get your moment in the sun in a second. But we know a lot of people come to help us on Law Day. I really want to say thank you to. Just stand up to be recognized if you're a mentor, and if you're an alumni, you can also do that too. So stand up to be recognized, and a thank you to you for coming on a Saturday, right? Great. Right. And just to acknowledge that there are many, many people, we're recognizing some of them who are most devoted to the success of our students, who have given of their time, and for me to say thank you on behalf of our students. We also have John Jay administrators and faculty who are here, so that is a special group to be recognized, so please stand. Scott, this is you. There we go. Thank you all for coming. And there are many faculty who are part of the Pre-Law Institute who are not here today, but you know them from the pre-law boot camps. So we're going to recognize a special group today, so they're going to get a lot of attention, and they're about to get some attention now. We've been guided by an advisory board over the years who have given of their own time and energy and wisdom to the design of the Pre-Law Institute and the success of our students. And our main purpose today for this luncheon is to say thank you to them. But while we're just asking people to be recognized, I'd like to ask them to stand, and we can say hello to all of them and welcome them to Pre-Law, to Law Day. Right? Great. Okay. So I have some more good news to share, and that is we track every year the two things: the number of law schools that accept our students and the amount of financial aid that those law schools give to our students. So this is still early in the cycle. We're really early in the cycle because people are still applying, law schools are still making their decisions, and in particular they're making their financial aid decisions, which sometimes come after the admissions decision. But here we are, standing here today, March 19th. We have 58 law schools around the country that have already accepted John Jay students. Already in March. We'll go over, last year was 60-something, 65. We'll beat that record. And so far we have, those law schools have awarded $6.4 million to our students already. And that'll go up 9 or 10 million, no doubt about it. So I say this just to for those of you who are here today asking, is it possible for me to go to law school? I never thought law school was possible. My parents never talked about law school. I don't have any lawyers in my family. I'm the first in my generation to go to college. If the question is it possible? Put that question out of your mind. If you've got the academic record here and you've got the motivation, you're willing to sort of follow our lead with the internships and the pre-law boot camps and the personal statements and the LSAT prep in particular, I have no doubt that you can go to law school, and that you can go to law school in a way that, I'm not saying it'll be free, I would never promise that, but in a way that we can help you minimize the financial burden. If you are committed to going to law school, we'll help you get there. Do I have to say it one more time? We can help you get there if that's what you want. That's why you're here, and we will help you make that journey. So let me switch gears a lot, and introduce our speaker. So we have a special lecture series that's funded by the Jacobs Foundation. Unfortunately, there are representatives who have been here, I think at all 8 of the law days, for personal reasons couldn't be here today. Tova Friedler and Ernie Rubenstein, who have funded the Jacobs lecture. So each year, Vielka and I put our heads together and try to imagine, so who would be a great speaker? And we have had spectacular speakers. So it's like the bar gets raised each year. It was not hard this year, between the two of us, to say who we would like to invite to be your speaker today. Steve Robinson is, let me say, first and foremost, a personal friend. We've labored in the vineyards for a long time on a lot of issues, and you'll see in a second how our paths have overlapped. But more importantly, he's an inspiration to me and to many others, and you'll see why in a second. He's a leader at the national level. He's a leader in the legal profession. He's a leader among people who care about crime and criminal justice issues. He's a leader in particular among prominent lawyers who care about the diversity of the legal profession, want to bring more lawyers of color through the law school process into law practice, keep them in the law firms if that's where they end up, make sure they rise to positions of prominence and power, which lines him neatly with the mission of the Pre-Law Institute. That's what we are about as well. Our strongest pitch to people who want to fund you and provide those scholarships, and that's financial support, is we have highly motivated first-generation students on their way to law school who will help provide diversity of all sorts: economic diversity, racial diversity, gender diversity, language diversity, national background diversity, faith tradition diversity, who will change the legal profession, because just trust me, it needs change big time. Steve Robinson is a voice for that proposition, for that mission. So he aligns as a friend, as a man of great leadership power, and along this particular goal that we've set for ourselves. here, and Vielka and I have had many conversations with him about that over the years. So let me just tell you, if you're not, I know you're about to be really impressed, so just get set, and then you'll hear him talk, and then you'll say, what took you so long, Travis, to invite him to speak at Law Day, right? So first of all, we can call him Judge Robinson. He's no longer a judge, but once you're a judge, a federal judge, you're always called judge. So if you come up and say hello to him afterwards, hello, Judge. Okay, you got it? Okay. He may say, call me Steve, but... So to be a federal judge means that you have to be nominated by the president. He was nominated by President Bush, confirmed by the Senate. There's a process of high integrity that leads you to be named to the federal bench. He was on the federal bench here in what we call the Southern District, which includes New York, though he actually sat in White Plains, I think, right? And it has since recently, past couple of years, stepped down from the bench to accept an offer from one of the leading law firms in the city, Skadden Arps, which you'll hear about as you go into law practice, one of the most highly respected, highly successful law firms in the city and indeed in the nation. Before going to the federal bench, he was nominated by a different president, the president I worked for, President Clinton, to be the United States Attorney for New Haven, basically, for Connecticut. So in that capacity, he was a thought leader among the U.S. attorneys. These are folks I hung out with from time to time when I worked in the Justice Department. And when Janet Reno was looking for people to help lead an initiative to develop new strategies to reduce gang violence, one of the people she brought to the table was Steve Robinson. And not because of Connecticut, but because of him, of his mind. And we worked really closely together and very successfully. And he brought that experience to bear most recently at a conversation convening by another Attorney General, Eric Holder, who asked for the Brennan Center to bring together former U.S. attorneys and current U.S. attorneys to think about the issue of mass incarceration. Our current Attorney General, Eric Holder, wanted Judge Robinson's brain and instinct and humanity at that table as well. Okay, if that's not enough, he was also special assistant to the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Anyone here want to work for the FBI in your future? Nobody? Well, okay, there we go. Judge Robinson, go talk to him. And helped on the investigation of the Oklahoma City bombing, and he was also Deputy General Counsel for the FBI, very high position of responsibility. He served for a while in Kroll Associates, which is a firm founded by the chairman of our board, Jules Kroll, and did work there on international investigations, including, I love this part of your resume, investigating Iraqi war crimes for the government of Kuwait and allegations of corruption on behalf of the Congress of Brazil. Go figure. It's a long way from Brooklyn. Bed-Stuy. I was trying to figure out whether it's Bed-Stuy or not. It's a long way. I knew it was Brooklyn. He continues his service to good causes by serving on the board of the Brennan Center, which is a very high-value nonprofit think tank associated with NYU Law School. He has also been a professor, has taught white-collar crime, not how to, but about it, and trial advocacy at Yale when he was in New Haven, and more recently appellate advocacy at Cardozo, which is a great place for our students to go to. Graduated from Cornell as an undergraduate, got his law degree there in 1984. So that by itself is enough to help you understand why we wanted Judge Robinson to be your speaker, but wait till you listen to what he has to say. Please join me in welcoming Steve Robinson.
Well, good afternoon. Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's one difference from when I was a judge. In those days when I said good afternoon, not only did people respond, but they stood. You don't have to stand, but please respond, good afternoon. Well, first I want to thank my great good friend Jeremy Travis, President Jeremy Travis, for inviting me to speak today. Jeremy and I have known each other for the better part of 2 decades and have worked together in New Haven fighting gun violence and gang violence in New Haven and other communities while I was a U.S. attorney, where I learned, and I've said this before in other settings, I learned at Jeremy's feet. We have continued our work to talk about and help think about issues of mass incarceration. And Jeremy is a leader, and he's a leader for people like me who have a lot of notions and thoughts and ideas, but Jeremy helps us ground them in reality, helps us ground them in facts and figures in a way that makes them important and relevant and actionable. And so he's been my great good friend for so long, and I'm so honored to be here today. I also wanted to congratulate the other honorees and the Board of Advisors for John Jay. John Jay is an institution that Jeremy and I have talked about for a long time. I have been here before and continue to come back anytime Jeremy or Vielka will ask. I also want to thank the other our participants in Law Day, those who are giving of their time. It is an important thing for all of us to do. It makes us whole. It validates our life and experience to talk and help you. And so to the extent that I ever can, Vielka and Jeremy know that they can call on me, and I'm happy to do that. I will tell you that this morning, when I was trying to figure out what I had to say to you, I grew very concerned. And today is my daughter's 25th birthday, and I know it's shocking that someone so young could have a 25-year-old daughter, but it was her birthday, and I was sort of struggling with what I wanted to talk about. And so I looked at her and I said, you know, sweetheart, I have this thing today. I said, do you want to come? She said no, which is not unusual. But I said, I have this presentation I'm supposed to make at John Jay, and I'm really struggling. And so she said, well, tell me what it's about. And I said, well, it's Law Day. And I talked about the programs that you folks would be involved in today and what this was about. And she said to me, you know, Dad, you can be confident that no one is coming today to hear you talk. So you shouldn't worry so much about what it is you actually say. Nonetheless, I did have to prepare or think about some remarks. So what I began to think about were the students here today who are beginning their process towards law school. And I thought that for me then, what I might do is start a little bit at this country's beginning and talk a little bit about our founding document, the Constitution, and more particularly the preamble to the Constitution, and even more particularly than that, its first 3 words. I first began my fascination with that when I was in law school and engaged in a rather improper and spirited discussion with my constitutional law professor, because I looked at the preamble to the Constitution, and it says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America." And so my first question was, when it says we, the people, who were the we? Because as we all recognize, their Constitution, probably the seminal, along with the Magna Carta, probably the 2 seminal governing documents, at least in Western culture. And it was put together by brilliant men, but men firmly of their time. And so I think that the Constitution is a deeply human document. It is something that should be living for all of us. And so when we look at it, we have to think about what is it that they meant, and how does that apply to us today? The words of the Constitution were written by men, not from Mount Sinai, more like Mount Vernon, right? It was written of this world, by people who were of this world. And it came from men who were entrenched in a system and a time that was deeply flawed. So when they talked about we, the people, they were talking about a time and in a system that had people of African descent enslaved. And so when they were talking about we, the people, they weren't talking about them. They were talking in a time when women were not allowed to vote. So when they were talking about we, the people, want to establish justice, they weren't talking about them. We were in a country that was in the midst of taking the land of Native Americans through force and trickery and disease. So when we talked about ensuring and providing for the common defense, they weren't talking about them. They were about to set up an institution, a country that spoke to a very narrow set of people. I am of the firm belief that the arc of this country always in time bends towards wisdom and the right. Not the political right, but the correct. But that arc does not bend as quickly or as surely as it should or as we would hope. So as you all know, we ultimately abolished slavery almost three-quarters of a century after that document was ratified. We ultimately granted women suffrage about 130 years after that document was ratified. But we still have many social ills and injustices to confront. And it's my view that we cannot yet say we the people and mean all of the people. Because until that phrase includes every black, brown, white, and yellow person, until it includes all women and men, and straight and gay, and physically gifted and challenged, until the rich and the poor, and the frail and the strong, and the weak, and the young and the old are fully incorporated, we can't yet say we the people. When this nation has tried to address these issues, we fundamentally look to lawyers. Today, we have new problems and the legacy of those old problems. So we struggle with the legacy of slavery and what that institution meant. We struggle with issues of equal pay for equal work for women today. We struggle with issues of immigration for people who are in this country working hard to make their way. And you all have a role in those struggles. You have the potential, and the opportunity to make a real difference. How you approach those issues in your life, how your generation attacks those issues, will actually determine the arc of this country. Are we moving towards a more just place? The hardest task ahead for many of you may be convincing yourselves that the difference you can make matters. Convincing yourselves of the possibilities ahead of you. But I'm here to tell you that when you hold that law degree in one hand, in the other hand you hold that power. It's up to you through your hard work, and I mean it's going to be hard work. It is up to you through that hard work to help make the change that you think ought to be made. Law school will teach you to think like a lawyer. The challenge will be, how do you use that to think broadly? What do you challenge, and when do you challenge it? The biggest issue in my life was learning what to challenge and when to challenge it. Because I grew up, as Jeremy mentioned, I grew up in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, in the Marcy housing projects. And I grew up in many ways kind of angry. I didn't understand this world. I didn't understand the college that I went to. And I didn't understand law. But when I was young, one thing happened to me. I was actually watching, I'm a Met fan, but I was actually watching the Yankees, because in those days, some of the older folks in the room remember, the Yankees were a team in constant turmoil. They were actually called the Bronx Zoo. They had Reggie Jackson, who was fighting with Thurman Munson, who was fighting with their manager. And they were constantly sort of a show. Not only what they did on the baseball field, because they were actually very good, but you were always waiting for some little or big explosion. And one day I'm watching the Yankee game, and it's after the game, and I think the Yankees had lost, but there had been some skirmish between Reggie Jackson and Thurman Munson, and the announcer was in the locker room talking to Mickey Rivers. And Mickey Rivers was the sort of short, wiry center fielder of the Yankees, always in good humor. And so it was a sort of tense locker room, and this guy went over to Mickey Rivers and he said to Mickey Rivers, "Mickey, how is it that you're always so happy with all of this turmoil going on around you?" And Mickey Rivers said words that changed my life. Mickey Rivers said, "You know, I don't get upset about what I can't control, because I can't control it. And I don't get upset about what I can control, because I can control it. So there's nothing here for me to be upset about." Those words changed my life. It taught me to begin to think about my life in terms of the things that I could then control. And then control those things. The one thing we can control, and I've learned this being a single father, is ourselves. We like to think we can control other people and their actions. As a parent, we like to think we can control our children. You can lead, you can inspire, you can guide, but you can't control. What you can control is yourself. So one of the things I would say to all of you, as you continue to think about your education here at John Jay, and as you move on to law school, those of you who want to do that, control yourself. Control the thing you can control. Spend little time and little energy now about things that you can't control, because that's wasted energy, because you can't control them. Lead, inspire, motivate, but spend most of your energy on the one thing you can control, and that's you. And so when you get to law school, control that. Only you determines how hard you work. whether you go to professors for help and guidance, whether you talk to your friends and colleagues to help you through the rough patches, you control that. You can't control what they do, but you can control what you do. So my message to you is to do that. To begin to think about your life now as you sit here today in terms of the things that you have control over, and let go all of the things you don't. When I really learned to let go of the things I didn't have control over, the craziness of my surroundings, the housing projects I grew up in, I didn't control those things. So I didn't fight those things anymore. What I could control was my education and what I wanted to do with it. What I could control was the relationships that I had with people and the way in which I approached relationships. So I'll say two more things. One is that last issue is perhaps the most important in my life. I control the relationships that I have. Real relationships. We tend to think about relationships in terms of what you can do for me. And we all think about that all the time. We see someone, we meet someone, and in our head we begin to churn what it is that person can do for me. Except when we all think about it, none of us want those relationships. When you're on the other side, no one wants that relationship. You want a relationship that's mutual. Whether it's your personal, intimate relationship, whether it's your best friends, whether it's your family, whether it's people you bump into, you want a mutual relationship. Think about relationships in this way. Never think about relationships when you first meet people in terms of what they can do for you. Talk to them, listen to them, and then think about what is it you can do for them. It might be something very simple. It might be someone like me. You see, I've already mentioned my daughter. I will talk about her again at the very end of this. All of you who know me, Vielka who knows me, Jeremy who knows me, knows that there's nothing more that I care about than my daughter, period. Nothing in the world. That's why I left the bench and came to a law firm, because I wanted to do something different for my daughter. So if you know me, you know that there's no way to build a relationship with me better than doing what Vielka did, to doing what other people did, to say to me, how is your daughter Victoria? Because that's how you're touching me. As I build relationships with Vielka, I tell Vielka, you can ask me for money for John Jay. Because I'm building a relationship with her as she's building one with me, that I will say to Jeremy, anytime you want me here, I will come. My thought isn't about what Vielka can do for me or what Jeremy can do for me, if anything ever. When you have enough relationships that are built around you adding value to someone else's life, they will all come back to you. I'm going to say two more things and I'm going to sit down. One, Jeremy mentioned a couple of jobs I've had. He's actually not mentioned all of them. I've been a lawyer 31 years. I've had 11 jobs. Of those 11 jobs, I've only ever applied for 2 of them. I didn't apply to become a federal judge. I didn't ask to become a federal judge. Senator Schumer asked me. I didn't apply or call up Skadden to go to Skadden. Skadden called me. Why do I say that to you? Because that's about the quality of the relationships that I've built. And good work. But frankly, I've never been the smartest person in the room. I'm not the smartest person in this room. There's only one person in this room that's the smartest. The rest of us are looking at them. This world, your career, is not about being the smartest, though. Don't get me wrong. You need to get good grades in law school. So I'm not trying to fool you here. But building relationships is what will carry you through. The people that made or suggested to the people who offered me jobs that be done were all people that I had built relationships with. None of them did I say, I'm looking for a job, I want to go somewhere else, or look at that job, I want it. When Senator Schumer was looking, he talked to some judges and he talked to some lawyers who said, go to this guy who is in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm from New York. I hadn't been in New York for 17 years. I was not a part of the New York legal community. No one could tell you, and not even my ego would drive me to the conclusion that of all the lawyers in New York City, I was smartest, and they had to go to another city to find me. That's not why it happened. It happened because I had built a range of relationships over time that ended up benefiting me. The last thing that I will talk to you about is you should, in my view, one should always try to lead the good life. And what I mean by that is a piece of your life, a piece of your happiness should always be based on doing something to help someone else. So this is the last story I'll tell you about my daughter. Her mother died when she was 11 years old. And after her mother died, we were living in New Haven. Her mother was a professor at Yale Law School. My daughter, who was very close to her mother, obviously took this badly, and she cried every night. And so during the day, she would be pretty much fine if she were in school or she was doing activities. But the minute every night I put her to bed, the tears would start, racking, sobbing tears. She would cry herself into exhaustion, 3, 4, 5 hours of crying, and then finally to sleep. And this went on for 2 or 3 weeks. Every night it would be the same. I would put her to bed. I would tell her a story. We would talk. And then the tears would start for her. After about 4 weeks of this, it was literally, I was going crazy. I wasn't getting to bed myself till 1 in the morning. I couldn't take it anymore. I went to a gentleman by the name of Steve Marins, who I developed a friendship with. He's the head of the Yale Child Study Center, an old friend of Jeremy's too. And I went to Steve and I said, Steve, I can't do this anymore. What can I do? And he said, you know, Steve, I've seen you and your daughter. Your daughter really loves you. Tell her to go to sleep. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I tell her to go to sleep all the time. He says, no, here's what you do. Let her cry for 1 minute. And then say, sweetheart, that's enough. It's time to go to bed. We'll talk about it in the morning. So I left his office and I'm furious. Like, you've got a chair at Yale, a PhD? This is your advice? Tell her to go to sleep? Really? So that evening, she goes, she starts to cry. She cries for a minute or two. I go, you know, sweetheart, that's enough. Why don't you go to sleep and we'll talk about it in the morning? She lifts up in the bed. She hugs and kisses me. She says, all right, Dad. And she goes to sleep. I sit there for another half hour. I'm shocked. I don't know what to do. This pattern now continues as our new Groundhog Day. This is every night now for the next 3 or 4 weeks. She will cry. I let her cry for a minute. I cut it down to 30 seconds, cut it down to 15 seconds. Sweetheart, that's enough. Hug me, kiss me. I love you. You love me. Okay, great. Go to sleep. She goes to sleep. One night, I said to her, sweetheart, time to go to sleep. And she says, you know, Dad, you say that to me every night, and you say we're going to talk about it in the morning, and we never do. And Steve hadn't told me that I actually had to talk about it the next morning. And I said, okay, look, tomorrow I'll get you up a half hour early. We'll talk about it, and we'll figure it out. She says, no, Dad, I've been thinking about it. And she said, I think that we ought to find a way to turn Mommy's death into something good for somebody else. I cried. It was the moment that I knew my 11-year-old got it. She got the meaning of this life and existence. You turn your good fortune and you pass it on to others, and you take your bad fortune and you turn it into something good for somebody else. And I said, wow, sweetheart, through my tears, I said, that's amazing. What do you think we ought to do? And in her 11-year-old voice, she said, I think we ought to take all of our money and give it to people who need it. I said, wait a minute. We need money, right? We have to pay our rent. We have to eat. So we made a pact that evening. We would take half of our savings, half of her mother's insurance money, and we would start a fund, which we did at the Community Foundation in New Haven's fund, in honor of her mother. And from that moment on, our lives became magical because we stopped worrying about ourselves. We stopped thinking about our own problem and grief, and we tried to spend our time thinking about how do we do something good for someone else. And as I said, magic entered our lives. So we said, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to set up this fund. Every year we'll put $10,000 or $15,000 in the fund. We'll look at charities. We'll decide maybe 2 charities that should get money. We'll give them money, and that's what we'll do. And I mentioned that to a friend of mine, and a couple of days later, Senator Dodd called me. So Senator Dodd had recommended me to President Clinton to be the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut. And Senator Dodd said, you know, Steve, there are a lot of people who knew and respected and loved your wife. Why don't you do something else, and I'll help you do whatever it is you want to do. He had no idea, but he just said, I'm here to help you. And so what we did was we decided we were going to try to make this fund something bigger than our own contribution. And then I become a federal judge. So now I can't do any fundraising. But my deputy as a federal judge had been a dancer with the New York City, in the School of American Ballet, and danced with the New York City Opera Ballet. And my daughter's birthday, we're living in New Haven, but her favorite restaurant was in New York, and so for her birthday, I bring her to the restaurant in New York, and my deputy calls me. And he says, Judge, where are you? And I said, I'm in New York having dinner. He says, I thought you said that. Why don't you, when you finish, come with your daughter over to my house? And we do. And he lived on the Upper East Side, to his apartment. And when we get there, the most startlingly beautiful woman answers the door. Behind her were other startlingly beautiful women. I didn't know what was going on, but I was happy to enter. So we go in, and it turns out that there was a cat in the apartment, and my daughter is literally deathly allergic. So after about 20 minutes, her eyes are watering, her throat is closed, and she comes to me, and I said, oh my gosh, we have to leave. And these 2 women walk with her to the door, and they said, you know, your daughter was telling us that you folks are starting this fund in honor of her mother. We would like to help. At which point I'm in full father mode. I no longer notice their beauty. I simply say, like, give me my daughter, we've got to get out of here. Talk to my courtroom deputy. It turns out that those 2 women were principal dancers for the New York City Ballet. It turns out that the opening gala of our fund was a benefit performance by 9 principal dancers and 15 core members from the New York City Ballet at the Schubert Theater in New Haven. We sold 1,500 tickets, gave away 300 others. We had a silent auction afterwards, which as this started to gather momentum, people started calling me up. A woman who is now a very close friend of mine is a very good artist. Her paintings sell for $15,000, $20,000. One day, a painting shows up at my house. I said, they said, please call this number. I call it, it's this woman. And she says, you know, I was talking to my dentist who knows your friend, and he was telling me about your wife and this fund, and that you were having a silent auction, and I wanted to donate one of my paintings. The caterers for the event liked my daughter so much, they decided to cater the event for free. We raised $280,000 that evening. Because my daughter said to me one evening, we need to find a way to turn mommy's death into something good for someone else. So my statement to all of you, when you're in your darkest moment, when life is not treating you fairly, when you think that it can't get worse, understand that there are people out there for whom it is worse, and figure out a way to turn your pain into something good for someone else. Thank you so much.
Told you. That was quite spectacular. So Judge Robinson has generously agreed to take a question or two or three from students who are here, and the floor is open. Who has something you want to say, you want to ask?
Put them all to sleep.
There we go. Okay. Just stand up and shout it out. Oh, there is a mic. There you go. Get through a microphone.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's not a question. I just want to say I'm glad everything worked out for you and your daughter.
Oh, thank you. No, she is, as you can tell, she is the light of my existence. She is the reason that I breathe every day. And so far, so good. Hopefully it'll continue.
Down this end. Come on, you're John Jay students. You're not shy. That I know. There we go. Okay. Yeah, go to the mic if you could. Just makes it a little bit easier to hear you.
Hello, Judge. Again, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
What's been your favorite job throughout your career?
So you haven't heard about all my jobs. I was an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. As Jerry mentioned, I was a private investigator, did international investigations for Kroll Associates, ran their international wing for a couple of years. I was the chief compliance officer for Aetna U.S. Healthcare. I ran a nonprofit organization. There's probably one or two other things in there I'm forgetting. To answer your question, I don't look at jobs that way. I really don't look back and compare. There are things I've loved. Other than one job, which was in many respects the best job that I had, was the only job I didn't like. And that was running a nonprofit, where my job was literally to give away $40 million. It was the worst job I ever had for reasons I won't bore you with. But as a general matter, I don't like to look back and compare. I try to be in the moment with the people that I'm in the moment with, and I'm not sitting here saying, boy, that last job or 2 jobs ago, 3 jobs ago was way better or more fun. Different jobs have activated sort of different parts of my brain and ability. And so at different times, I loved trying cases as an assistant. I loved being at the FBI. All of the counterterrorism investigations that the FBI did reported to me, and I reported to the director. Nothing more interesting and fun than that. I was a federal judge. Like, life doesn't get better. So all of those jobs have been really wonderful. I think that, for one, my message is, if you're in a job you really don't like, get out. If it's making you miserable, get out. But otherwise, be in the moment, work really hard every day to do the best you can at that job, because everyone around you is watching, and you never know where it'll lead you to the next great job. So it's kind of hard. I've done a lot. I've been very, very lucky. And I've just done jobs, and I do them as well as I can. I try to learn from people who are thrown in my path, like Jeremy, and really learn from him. And I'm not saying that because he's here, and I've said that in other settings that wasn't here. He was a person that I could learn from. I was a U.S. attorney, and I was thought of myself as a big deal, but there are always people in the room who are smarter than me, and my job is to learn what I can learn from them.
It was a very nice, inspiring speech. Thank you. I have a question for you. You said that when you were in law school, you learned what and when you wanted to challenge something. So I want to know one experience on that. What did you challenge when, and what was the outcome?
So in my first year of law school, I challenged everything. Everything I thought was an injustice, not fully thought through, or I came at it from a different perspective. I thought it was important to raise my voice. It was a different day in law school, so out of 178 members of my law school class, there were 4 African Americans, so we were a small group. And I thought it was important. And I learned more that often you learn more in silence and let other people speak. And so in different circumstances, different things matter. I'll tell you about one really kind of funny story. It's a little bit long, but I'll tell it quickly. I was at Cornell in the first year. Everybody's in the moot court competition. Every first year student has to participate. Then after 3 rounds, they get the 64 top people, and you sort of have a competition, much like the NCAA tournament, until you have a winner. So the final comes along. I'm the first African American who had ever made the finals at Cornell. And I'm the first student ever who was the highest ranked student from the first round through every round of the competition. They graded every round separately. Every round I was the highest ranked competitor. So I'm in against David Yellen, who's a classmate of mine, former dean at Hofstra, dean somewhere else now, I don't remember. And we're in the finals. And we had very different styles. You see, my style is sort of conversational. I think I'm funny. Some people don't. They're wrong. And we had very different styles. At the end of the competition, the judges, 3-judge panel came back after deliberating for 1 minute and determined that it was a tie. And I was furious. Furious. I'd rather have lost, right? I'm a competitive guy. It's okay. Some people could think his style was better or he was more effective. He wasn't. But people could think that. And that would have been okay. But I saw a massive conspiracy in this. Either I was better and they didn't want me to win, or I was worse and they didn't want to tell me I lost. Either of those was bad to me. And I let people know. Now, it was a different era, and the law school that evening blew up. It was the biggest competition they had ever had. They had hundreds of people who couldn't get into the moot court room to see this. The moot court board, since I had been the highest ranked competitor throughout, really kind of liked me. One of the deans, who was one of the judges who was judging the competition, had asked an unfair question of me. It was a question that was a problem in the structure of the competition, not in anything. And the reality was, the way they structured the problem, my side had to lose. And so they were said, don't ask about that. Judges were told, don't ask about that because there isn't a real answer. New Supreme Court cases come out, Zahn versus International Paper, I remember it to this day. And this side will lose. He will never get into court because he doesn't meet the threshold of money required in a class action case. So they said, the judges don't ask it. And the judges asked me about it. And I said, well, I would go, under this case, which was the case prior to Zahn. And the judge said to me, no, but what about Zahn? And I said, Zahn. Well, I'm asking you to overrule Zahn. And he said, well, what if we don't want to overrule Zahn? I said, if you don't overrule Zahn, we don't have standing to bring this class action case. So there were people in the audience who thought, aha, Steve Robinson's not good, he's lost, right? People who were not in the competition. The moot court board and the first years were furious because they knew that this was no way to. So after the competition now, it is bedlam. People are upset. I'm furious because I would have rather have lost. And so let me tell you one other side funny thing. I was living with this guy, Kevin McCrae, who was an undergrad at Cornell with me. I went to Cornell and Cornell Law School. He was an undergrad. We were both the 2 black philosophy majors at Cornell. Kevin was the most brilliant guy I've ever known. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Never graduated. Was working in the fine arts library. Had 200 and some credits. You only needed 120 to graduate. But he needed to take a science class, and he refused to take the class. He said, I will study it on my own and go take the exams, but I don't want to have to sign up for a class. They said, no, you have to sign up for a class. He never graduated. Kevin, as a philosophy major, taught himself German so he could read Hegel in the original German. This is how brilliant this guy was. So Kevin comes to the moot court final, and you have to kind of understand Kevin, but it was a different era. Kevin was kind of a loose, funky guy. So now this craziness has happened. There's a reception in a room about this size. There are 300 people in it, and really, all heck is breaking loose. I'm furious. People are attacking the judges. The moot court board is angry. The black students are like, what is this? Everything's going crazy. And I look over, and Kevin McCrae is talking to the Third Circuit judge who was on the panel. And please excuse my language. Here's what Kevin McCrae is saying. You couldn't fuck with my man, Steve. You couldn't fuck with him. When you asked him this, he said that. When you asked him that, he said this. And I'm looking at him, and everybody at the law school is like, who is this guy? I'm looking at him, I'm terrified. And he goes on to tell the judge, if you really wanted to trap him in a fair way, here's how you should have gone about it. Because Kevin had read all the cases and understood them better than any of us. And he breaks down for them the questions that they didn't ask that they should have, what answer I probably would have given, and then what their comeback should have been. This Third Circuit judge says to Kevin, my gosh, when you graduate, come and clerk for me. Kevin looks up and says, I'm not an effing law student. At which case, all heck broke out again.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve. Thanks for coming. Thank you. So please join me as I give this token of our appreciation to Judge Stephen Robinson. And do we want him to come back to John Jay? Yeah, that's right. It says, for his outstanding commitment to the legal community.
Oh,
We can do this.
we can do this. We'll get it together. Thank you.
One of those might be mine. Yeah, great. Okay. So it's always a delight to have Steve Robinson here. He has been here many times and will be here many times more, I am certain. And Vielka is now remembering what he said about asking him for future support. So we have a special group of people that we want to honor today and say thank you to. When we set up the Pre-Law Institute now 9+ years ago, I knew it was important to reach out to lawyers in the legal community in the city to help us think about what we should do, how we should energize the legal community to support our students, and we created an advisory board. And again, when Vielka came to me this year to say, how should we organize this year's Law Day, we wanted to acknowledge our advisory board and just to say thank you to them for the work that they've done over those years. And it is absolutely true that we would not be here without them, and we look forward to their guidance in the years to come because we are in this for the long haul. So we have an advisory board that has many people on it. Not all of them could be here today, so I want to note, first of all, that Dominic Cromartie is not here. He's senior legal counsel at this little company called Apple. He's not here. Denora Getachew, who's a John Jay alum, who now works at the Brennan Center, graduated from here in Fordham Law School, could not be with us today. Malik Jones, who's a partner with Steve at Skadden Arps, who heads up their diversity program there, and law school, Brooklyn Law School graduate, could not be here today. And Heather Wild, who is a intellectual property lawyer for this other small firm called Microsoft. We got Apple and Microsoft helping you guys. I mean, we've reached reach for the stars here. Heather could also not be here, so we say thank you to them in absentia. So I'm going to call out individual members of our advisory board who are here, say a word or two about them, ask them to come up. Here's the drill. Each of you gets one of these to take home. So and the names are on them, so I've got to get it right. We'll leave our chairman, Ed Davis, to last because I want to say some special things about him. And then you can applaud, we'll do a photo, but they're all going to stand up here and then we'll say thank you to them as a group. Is that a deal? You got it? Okay. So let me call up, and you're helping out here. Let me call up Steve Feldman, who is here. Steve Feldman practices at Murphy and McGonigal. He's a white-collar criminal litigation lawyer, graduate of Georgetown University Law Center. Thank you, Steve. Come over. We're getting the one picture at the end, right? Where's our RP? How do you want to do this? Individuals? Let's do individuals and then a group photo. Steve, come on. And Vielka, you come too.
Yes, thank you.
Just stand right there. So next we welcome to the stage Maria Fernandez-Williams, who works at Alliances and Microelectronics at IBM, another Cornell Law School graduate, works on mergers and acquisitions and technology and stuff like that, which is appropriate. Thank you so much. Come on over here.
Thank you.
Vielka?
I went to high school with Vielka.
Oh, you went to high school with Vielka? Next, we welcome Thomas Hickey, who is law clerk to Ros Richter. What a great judge to work for. He works in the appellate division. Has an MPA from John Jay, yes, and a JD from NYU School of Law. Right. Thanks so much. Thank you. Come on down here. Come on, Vielka.
Thank you.
I will.
Thank you. Stand next to me.
We have some great folks on this board, really. and one of the stalwarts from day one, Jose Perez from Latino Justice, Pearl Deaf. He's been fighting the good fight for a long time. St. John's University School of Law graduate. Jose, it's good to have you here. Yeah, yeah. And we're working our way through here. And next we have, again, one of those early in people who's been a great friend for many years for me, and is member of our Board of Trustees, Ann Bean Rudman, who has her own, I have to do a little bio here, has her own law practice, worked in the Manhattan DA's office, and does a lot of international work all around the globe. Rule of law issues.
Thank you, thank you.
And another John Jay alumna we're very, very proud of, who now is Senny Taveras, who's the executive director of CUNY in the Heights, now works at CUNY, Hostos Community College, worked formerly for Governor Patterson, and is a frequent attendee at various events here at John Jay, and graduated from Hofstra University Law School. And next we hear, welcome to the stage, Ann Turnus, who is works in the Manhattan DA's office in the Rackets Bureau, graduate of Fordham University School of Law. Ann, come on up.
Congratulations, Anna. Thank you so much. Yes.
And then finally, every group that works well has someone who performs in a leadership capacity. And now I get a little sentimental. Ed Davis has been there forever with us in many ways, and has been the chair of this board for a number of years. His devotion to the Pre-Law Institute has no bounds. A great friend of the college, a great lawyer, does intellectual property work, and has been really a stalwart friend and leader of the advisory board. And I thank you in particular, Ed, for your service.
Congratulations, and thank you. Wonderful.
Now, my notes say, no, Ed says something on behalf of the board? And Ann, and Jose. Three people are going to speak on behalf of the board. Let's leave Ed till last as the chair. So why don't we start? We'll do it this way. Ann and Jose, say a few things. Right. Oh my God, you're a lawyer.
I have to follow Judge Robinson. Whoa, that doesn't make me very happy, but very brief. First, when Jeremy became president of John Jay, he had a dream. He had a vision. That was to create the Pre-Law Institute. The person who helped implement that vision, actually who implemented that vision, was Vielka. Vielka and her team. That's why we are here today, because of the two of them. Last year, there were 65 law schools that accepted you guys. There was $9.5 million in merit-based scholarships. That's good news, right? Well, you know, guess what? We read in the newspapers bad news. Applications for law schools have dropped significantly. Law schools are really worried about this. We also read in the newspapers that diversity in law schools and the legal profession is not good. I can attest to that. I started with the New York County District Attorney's Office in 1977, probably before you guys were born, before your parents were born. But needless to say, there were hardly any people of color. Prosecutors, judges, and defense attorneys. Now, fast forward to now, 2015, and I've switched sides. I'm now a criminal defense attorney. I spend almost every day in court, and you know something? It has not changed that much. Yeah, there's some more. Now, how would you like being a defendant, a person of color, and you look around and there are very few people of color? What does that say? Does that give you faith in the criminal justice system? I don't think so. It doesn't give me faith. So I have to thank John Jay, Jeremy, and Vielka for making this possible, for bringing all of you here, and hoping that you go on to law. Now, you really don't have to go to criminal law, because I think the same is true in the corporate sector. So good luck to all of you. See you in court.
Hi, good afternoon. You warmed them up, Judge. I'm delighted to be here for doing something that it is who I am, it is what I do, and I service on the Pre-Law Institute Advisory Board, and I think as President Travis mentioned, and Vielka, I've been there, I think, with Ann from almost day one, and Ed. It's really, as Ann said, President Travis had this vision over 10 years ago when he became president. He saw many of you at that time wanted to become lawyers, I don't know why, wanted to go to law school. And what could the college do? And he created the Pre-Law Institute. And really, I think it flourished and took off when Vielka was appointed and hired as the executive director. So I think we all should give Vielka a great round of applause. When I said I do this because of what I do and participating in the John Jay Pre-Law Institute Advisory Board, I am you. When I look around this room, I see the faces and the colors, the different ethnicities, the races, religions, creeds, whatever you are, sexual orientation. I am you. What do I mean by that? Because John Jay is known for the diversity of its student body. More so than I think than any other school that reflects the gorgeous mosaic that is New York City. When you look about, many of you are immigrants, either born in another country or the son or daughter of immigrants who came to this country. I am the son of immigrants. When we talk about growing up in a household, English may not be your first language, or when you go back home, English, it is a non-English speaking household. I grew up in a non-English speaking household. My grandmother spoke Spanish. If I had to talk to mi abuelita, I had to learn Spanish. She had her broken English. I am you. Again, I am the son of immigrants. My parents came here after the Second World War. My mom came from the Dominican Republic when she was a child. My dad came as a teenager from the Galicia region of Spain. He was a campesino, a farmer with a third-grade education. They aspired for me what they did not have in their own native countries, was to go pursue higher education, graduating from college. I was the first in my family to go to college. I was the first in my family to go to grad or law school. I had lawyers in the family back in the Dominican Republic, but not here. And I did not have there were not programs like the Pre-Law Institute or other organizations like mine that could guide or provide assistance or information. So you all that here are thinking about law school, it is a good thing. I jest when I said earlier why, but there is a need, particularly when we talk about some of the issues, and the judge referred to this in his remarks. There was this month is the 50th anniversary of what's called Bloody Selma, a march from activists, Dr. Martin Luther King, from Selma to Montgomery. Why? Because they were seeking the creation of a Voting Rights Act so that all Americans, and again, you heard the judge mention this, when we the people did not reflect women could vote at that time. For many in the Deep South, African American blacks could not vote, notwithstanding that they were citizens. As we look about that, I think if you saw the movie, who here saw the movie Selma? Fabulous film that came out. If you haven't seen it, go see it. You see the initial attempt to march from Selma to Montgomery was beaten back by the local police, and some of the images are horrifying, and this is part of the history of this country. But as the strategizing and the brilliance of Dr. King, somewhat like President Travis, was reaching out around the country, faith leaders, Orthodox, Jewish, Catholic, coming together and marching together. That is where you can make a difference, coming together and believing and presenting yourself. I end with a quote when I say that, we're all the same, we're all here together. This is from a speech that President Obama gave a number of years ago. It's copied from his one of his autobiographies, Dreams from My Father. This is the United States of America. There is not a black America and white America, and Latino Americans and Asian America. There's the United States of America. There's another ingredient in the American saga, a belief that we're all connected as one people. If there's a child on the south side of Chicago who can't read, that matters to me, even if it's not my child. If there's a senior citizen somewhere who can't pay for their prescription drugs and has to choose between medicine and the rent, that makes my life poorer, even if it's not my grandparent. If there's an Arab-American family being rounded up without benefit of an attorney or due process, that threatens my civil liberties. It is that fundamental belief that I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that makes this country work. It's what allows us to pursue our individual dreams and yet still comes together as one American family. E pluribus unum. And in case you didn't know what that means, out of many, one. I am you. Thank you.
And I think to all of you who've benefited from her guidance. I want to thank my predecessor as the chair of the advisory board, my law school classmate Edgardo Ramos, who couldn't be here, but I hope we'll be back to John Jay soon. He's now busy being a federal judge, following in Judge Robinson's footsteps. I want to thank you, all the John Jay students and the John Jay community. We look out at you and we see the future of the legal profession. It's the future of our profession and the future of our society, and we have very high hopes. Thank you.
Picture of all of us. RP down here. What would you prefer? Do one more picture and then we have one more activity.
Stop squeezing people out.
Where would you like to?
Would you like us up here or down there?
Behind that? Take it down? Let's go down.
We can go down. Ed, are you taking yours?
Go. That I do this, to say a special thank you to the people who make this day happen, who make the Pre-Law Institute happen, who are there for you as advisors, as guides, as translators, as inspirational folks, kicking the butt every once in a while. This is a commitment of a team to your success as you think about law school and as you apply to law school. So before we do the drawing, please join me in a round of applause that will shake the rafters for Vielke Holness and Elizabeth Broccoli, who head up the Pre-Law Institute. Okay, thank you for that. They have deserved it richly. So we're now going to draw. What do I do? I dig deep. What? Oh, you have to be present to win. So if you're not here, don't get up.
Sorry for the rest of you.
Right. The winner this year is Umit Choliev. Yes, there. That's you. Congratulations. We get a photo?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't expect that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations again.
And now I close it out?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right.
So just because I'm from Brooklyn and because Judge Robinson's from Brooklyn, who is here from Brooklyn? Just, okay. Okay, hands down. Anybody here from Bed-Stuy? Okay. Go over and talk to this guy, right? Just sort of get that special Steve Robinson magic. It's not only for Brooklyn, but I just wanted to sort of see. Given what Jose just said, who here was born in another country? Hands up. Look at that. Look around, Steve. Keep your hands up. Who here may have been born in this country but speaks a language other than English at home? Jose, we are you. Look at this. Hands down. Who here is the first in your family, in the generation of your family, to go to college? Hands up. Half at least. This is the promise of the words of the Constitution that Steve Robinson read to us, is that we, the people, you, the students who are here at John Jay, have enormous power in your hands. You're here because you have some inkling of that. We are here to tell you that it's real and that you have to figure out how to use what you've got because you're going to change the world. Because you come here with that motivation and that drive, and you're carrying with you the hopes and the aspirations of parents, grandparents, siblings, communities, people who want you to be successful. You're doing it for you, but you're also doing it in a very real way for them. And the advisory board, all of us know that we are here not just to help you be successful, but because we have that larger hope that your success will bring about the social change that our democracy has promised. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for coming today. Thank you to our guests and to our speakers. Thanks.